Trial 1. The Mountain of Seeds. Venus led Psyche into a vast golden hall where a mountain of tiny seeds, wheat, barley, millet, poppy, and lentils, rose like a hill before her. The goddess sneered and said, "By nightfall, separate all these seeds into their kinds. If even one grain is misplaced, you will die." Then she vanished in divine light, leaving Psyche trembling before the impossible task. She knelt beside the mountain and began to sort them, but her hands shook. There were millions of grains. Her tears fell upon the pile as she whispered, "How can I ever finish this?" But unseen by Venus, tiny ants appeared. The little creatures took pity on Psyche and began to work, sorting the seeds swiftly with perfect order, guided by the will of love itself. By twilight, the task was done. When Venus returned, she frowned to see the seeds neatly arranged. "So, luck favors you once," she said coldly. "Tomorrow, you'll not be so fortunate." Trial 2. The Golden Fleece of the Fire-Breathing Rams. At dawn, Venus summoned Psyche once more. Her beauty seemed harsher now, her voice like polished steel. "Across that river," she said, pointing to a distant meadow, "graze the rams of the sun, fierce beasts with golden wool and breath of fire. Bring me a tuft of their shining fleece by sunset, if you survive." The goddess vanished, leaving Psyche standing before a roaring river. On the far bank, the rams shone like molten gold, their eyes blazing, their horns curved like suns. They charged at the wind itself, burning the grass beneath their hooves. Psyche trembled. She knew she could never cross alive. Despair nearly overtook her when a gentle voice rose from the tall green reeds beside the river. "Do not face them now, mortal," whispered the reed. "When the sun burns high, they are mad with rage. Wait until dusk, then, when they rest in the shade, gather the golden fleece caught upon the thorns." Psyche obeyed. When twilight came, she crept softly to the meadow's edge. The rams lay sleeping, their fire dimmed. On the thorny bushes, strands of pure gold shimmered like sunlight woven into silk. Carefully, Psyche gathered the golden tufts into her hands. When Venus saw her return alive, holding the glowing fleece, her smile vanished. "Clever, but not clever enough," she said coldly. "Tomorrow you will face a task no mortal has ever survived." Trial 3. The Waters of the Dead River, Styx. At dawn, Venus appeared again, her beauty now shadowed by cruelty. "Psyche," she said, "take this crystal flask and fill it with water from the river Styx, the black river that circles the underworld. Its waters burn with death itself." Psyche's heart sank as she gazed upon the distant mountains where the Styx fell, a sheer cliff where dark waters thundered down into endless mist, guarded by dragons and spirits of the damned. She climbed the jagged path, her hands bleeding, her breath short. The roaring water below hissed and spat, its surface swirling with ghostly faces. Each time she tried to go near, the wind of death forced her back. At last, an eagle, mighty and golden, descended from the heavens, sent by Jupiter himself. With divine strength, it seized the flask from Psyche's trembling hands, soared through the deadly mist, and filled it with the black waters of Styx. When it returned, Psyche bowed low in gratitude, clutching the flask that shimmered like liquid shadow. Venus sneered when she saw the impossible task completed. "So," she said, "even the gods pity you. But mercy will not save you next time." Trial 4. The Box of Beauty from the Underworld. Venus gave Psyche a small golden box and said coldly, "Go to the realm of the dead, to my sister Proserpina, queen of the underworld. Ask her to fill this box with a drop of her beauty. Bring it back without delay, and if you value your life, do not open it." Psyche's face paled. How could any mortal enter the land of the dead and return alive? Yet she bowed and accepted the task. Guided by kindness unseen, she journeyed to a high, dark tower. The stones themselves spoke with a deep, echoing voice. "Do not seek death, noble Psyche. I will tell you how to survive. Take 2 coins for Charon, the ferryman, and 2 honeyed cakes for Cerberus, the 3-headed hound. Give 1 coin and 1 cake to each as you pass, and do not look upon the suffering souls around you. Psyche obeyed. With trembling steps, she reached the black river of the underworld. Charon, the ferryman with hollow eyes, accepted the coin and rowed her across the misty waters. At the gates, Cerberus stood, a monstrous guardian with 3 snarling heads and eyes like molten embers. She threw him a honeyed cake. The beast sniffed the sweet offering, devoured it whole, and at once his head drooped into slumber. As his growls faded into snores, Psyche stepped quietly through the gates of the dead. Before long, she reached the throne of Proserpina, queenly, calm, and surrounded by shadowed light. The goddess listened kindly, then filled the golden box with a secret essence of divine beauty. Psyche thanked her and returned the same way, giving the 2nd coin to Charon and the last cake to the waking Cerberus, who again fell asleep. When she finally stood beneath the open sky once more, the mortal girl exhaled in relief. She had done the impossible. She had returned from death itself. But temptation still waited in her heart. The temptation of the golden box. As Psyche walked under the living sun once more, her heart filled with both pride and weariness. The box felt heavy in her hands, far heavier than before, as if it contained not beauty but eternity itself. She whispered to herself, "This beauty is for Venus, but how pale and worn I have become from my trials. If only I could take just a little, only a drop, to make myself worthy again of my love." Her fingers trembled as she lifted the lid. But the moment she opened it, no light, no beauty escaped, only a thick, invisible mist. It swirled around her like smoke, filling her eyes with darkness. Her knees buckled, and she fell to the ground, lifeless, the sleep of death claiming her once more. High above, Cupid, now healed of his wound, felt the pull of her soul. With desperate wings he flew down from the heavens, his golden arrows flashing. He found Psyche lying upon the earth, still as marble, the golden box beside her. "Foolish beloved," he whispered, kneeling beside her. "Even your courage cannot outshine your curiosity." He brushed the sleep from her eyes with the tip of his arrow, and her breath returned. She opened her eyes to see his face once more, radiant with love and sorrow. Then Cupid rose into the skies to plead with Jupiter himself. "Father of gods, let this mortal be mine. She has suffered, obeyed, and proven her soul's strength. Grant her immortality, so that love may live eternal." And Jupiter, moved by the god's devotion, nodded. "Bring her to Olympus. Love deserves its reward." Sparkle's the final trial had ended, but Psyche's true transformation was only beginning. Psyche ascends to Olympus. Carried by Cupid's arms, Psyche was lifted into the heavens. The winds themselves gathered beneath them, guiding the lovers through clouds of gold and rose. At the gates of Olympus, the gods turned to watch. Some whispered in surprise. Some smiled. Even Juno herself softened at the sight of the mortal who had endured so much. Then Jupiter stepped forward, his presence shaking the sky. He raised his thunderbolt, not in anger, but in blessing. "Psyche," he declared, "you have suffered greatly, yet your heart never abandoned love. No mortal should bear such trials. From this day forth, you shall be immortal." He touched the cup of ambrosia to her lips. Light bloomed from her skin, soft at first, and then radiant like dawn breaking through centuries of night. Her mortal breath became divine. Her fears fell away like dust. Her soul awakened to its true, eternal form. Cupid took her hand, tears of joy in his eyes. "You are mine," he whispered, "not for a lifetime, but for eternity." The wedding of Cupid and Psyche. All Olympus gathered for the celestial wedding feast. Apollo played the lyre, filling the air with golden music. The Muses sang harmonies that bloomed into flowers mid-air. The Graces danced like living starlight. Mercury brought gifts wrapped in air and light. Even Venus arrived, proud, reluctant, but smiling at last. She gazed at Psyche, no longer with jealousy, but acceptance. "You have proven your worth," Venus said. "Perhaps my son chose well." The gods laughed, feasted, and celebrated until the sky shimmered with joy. Then Jupiter blessed the union. "Let love and soul be forever bound." And thus the divine marriage was sealed. The birth of Voluptas. Time passed gently in the halls of heaven. One morning, Psyche held a newborn daughter in her arms, a child whose laughter rang like small bells of light. Her name was Voluptas, meaning pleasure or delight. She was the union of love, Cupid, and soul, Psyche, a symbol that true joy is born when love and the soul finally reunite.